Captain Awesome! It's Ainsley here for your Daily Adventure Fest. So today this video is specifically for people who feel like they're at rock bottom and you don't know how to get out. You feel stuck, you feel stranded, you feel like no one else can help you. You feel so consumed with whatever it is that you're in that you don't know how to get out because you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, I know this feeling. I've been in rock bottom too, many times. I'm a little bit of an expert at rock bottom. And so I know what it takes to get out of it. Now, first of all, the biggest thing you need to start working on is your mindset. If you are thinking and overthinking and navel-gazing and looking at the problem and prodding it and poking it and scanning it and getting blood samples from it, and if you're, I don't know, giving it to other people to poke and prod, then all you are doing is perpetuating the problem and creating more of the problem. Now, this has taken me a long time to actually understand. Like, I always knew that when you focus on the positive, you feel better. But I had such an addiction to negative emotions that I kept falling back. So every time I felt like something wasn't going right, I would revert back to old behaviors and get depressed again, feel sorry for myself again, and completely globalize the state that I was in and feel like that it was never going to get better. And this is the thing, when you do that, you will just keep creating more of it. It's like just being wound up in wool, I don't know, carpet, no, that's not going to work, let's say wool, or thread, wrapped up, and the more you move around, and the more you engage in it, in the thread, and get yourself into a frenzy, then you end up more and more tangled. Now, if you just slowed down and stopped, like halted the emotional state, like halted the fear, the frustration and the anger, and just stopped buying into it. Now, this takes some practice. Stop buying into it, then what happens? You suddenly start seeing solutions. We get so clouded by our negative emotions that when we're in them, we can't see a way out. We can't see the forest for the trees because we're blind. It's like this. And so the problem's like this. And so you can't see anything else outside of the problem. And so that comes from just constantly engaging with it and keeping the relationship going with it. Now, what you need to do to get over it is to completely ignore it. Now, I know that's easier said than done. It's not easy, trust me. It's taken me time to get to that point myself. And so what it takes is a lot of daily strength in instead of just focusing on the problem, you have to keep policing yourself. Like, really keep policing yourself on how much you focus on it. Like, I used to be one of those people, and because of what I do, I've got a lot of tools that I used to use on myself. Here's what was interesting, was that I was just using those tools, some in the right way, but some in the wrong way, because they were making me continuously stay in the problem. And I thought that I was looking for solutions, but while you're still looking for solutions, you're still in the problem. And so any kind of attention towards it just creates more of it. And I know that sounds really kind of like, well, I don't know, do I just ignore it? And the answer is pretty much yes. Like, instead of doing that and trying to get the answers, like, now, I know that I contradict myself here because sometimes or often I do say to people, if you've got a problem, if there's a problem, you have to acknowledge it first. Okay? Now, another thing actually is just a little side note with that, is that you have to acknowledge what part you're playing in creating this problem. So you've got to get really honest with yourself. You've got to come up with the uncomfortable feelings that you feel, because if you don't, then yeah, it will keep coming at you and coming at you. But not to the point where you're just creating more problems so that you can seek out more solution. And the best way to deal with this, first of all, is to get real clarity around how you want to feel. Like how you want to do your days, what outcome you want from this situation. Get really clear about that outcome and keep your eye on the prize. And so this becomes a battle of, it's not something that you can just write down, this becomes a battle of your mind where the old you keeps trying to suck you back in like a toxic friend. It sucks you back into the drama and it keeps pulling you in and pulling you in. Now, you can fall for it, I know I do, more so, like I'm a lot better now than I was because I can see the difference, like I can see how much I let things like that consume me. And I'm getting better over time in my own stuff with how I deal with that. Because it's just a battle of wills. Which one's going to win? The positive one that's sort of focused on just moving forward, or the one that just keeps sucking you back down into this toxic energy and making you feel like shit, reminding you of where you're not at and just making you feel worse. So the biggest lesson in this is, again, just to focus on your outcome. How do you want to feel? Not how you don't want to feel. Okay, so I know when I speak to people, I say, like, how do you want to feel, or what do you want? And then they'll give me a list of things they don't want. But it's like, well, that's not right. Like, you've got to ignore those things you don't want and just focus on what you want. But we've been so trained in ourselves to think that focusing on this will fix the problem. It fucking doesn't. Trust me, it doesn't. I've been working hard at it in business for 8 years with lots of ups and downs, and none of this, like, it helped, but not as much as this did. If I just stuck with training myself into this emotional state constantly, as I'm doing now, then I would have been able to break away from the old me a lot sooner. But it's all a process. So if you want me to help you do that, all you need to do is go to my website, ainsleym.com, AINSLEY, .com, and hit the contact form and fill out the form, and we can have a chat about where you're stuck. Okay, we'll have a chat about what you want, help you get real clarity around what you want, and then create the path to get you out of rock bottom, rescue you out of rock bottom. I'm admiring my arm here. Ooh, see, good sit-ups, push-ups, and bring you over here. So again, all you need to do, ainsleym.com, and I want you to have a cracking day.